Today for me is Atheist Christmas, because I'm atheist. Maybe that's a little different than what most people experience. For me, I see two kinds of atheists I run into, because if you're atheist, you run into other atheists, and mostly online. But there's people who became atheists later in life, and then there's those who are raised atheists, and I'm the later. I was always atheist even as a child. I had absolutely no religion growing up at all. I can hang with, if you're atheist and you discovered atheist later in life, I can hang with you. We can be pals. But there are some differences. I think people who became atheists later in life, they're more likely to be get in arguments online about atheists, or they seem more interested in proselytizing atheism to other people. I think they have more of a cause around it. For me, it's like it's just sort of my nature, I think. And I never really I had no real exposure to, I had like cultural exposure to monotheism just living in the USA, but I don't have any emotional attachment to it. So to me, a lot of that discussion about like God and all this stuff, it's just kind of boring, and I'm just not interested in it. I'm just more interested in other things. I do think it's easier for me, like being kind of, I guess, a native atheist. I feel it's easier for me to hang with religious people a little bit. That I think the people who used to be religious, who became atheists, they react to the symbols of religion almost like a smoker who quit smoking. That they just, that it triggers old memories, and they have a lot of internal debate about it. But for me, it's like, it's kind of nothing. Or it's at least just nothing emotionally. I don't react to it like they do. So it's like, I'm not drawn into those sort of arguments about that. If someone posts something online, I don't feel the need to correct anyone or anything like that. I'm pretty open to, following people who are Christians or Muslims on the internet. I would follow quite a few Muslims as well as Christians, actually. And they're going to post some religious stuff, which I generally don't mind. I think if their feed gets overloaded with platitudes, or just if it just becomes too much, though, I'll often unfollow just to quiet the noise level down. So if you know what I mean, it's like if you're gonna post like some Merry Christmas now and then, it's fine. But people who are constantly on religion, I find that sort of tiring and not so interesting. I think the origin of this is, maybe for me, is a little unusual. My father was raised Buddhist in the kind of Japanese immigrant churches. They're still around. There's one, I know there's one here in Santa Monica and also in Berkeley. But in the old days, like me and my brothers, we were not part of this. In the old days, it felt like they're sort of Japanese American groups, but they were kind of for like pure Japanese heritage people. And me and my brothers, I think we were like outsiders. In old days, we were sort of outsiders to that. I felt like I was invading their space a little bit. We only saw funerals, really, for Buddhist funerals. So when people died, we'd go over there and they would do the chanting, and we'd see the incense and the chanting and the gongs and that kind of stuff. But we never really, we weren't part of that religion. We were sort of visitors or tourists. I think that's not the case now. I've been by some of these groups, and I think just for their own survival that they're quite a bit more open now to mixed race couples and mixed race children and converts to Buddhism. So I know the Berkeley group is pretty active, and they're sort of thriving. But I come from the old days when it was like there was more hang-ups in old days. I think about this. My mother was raised by proper communist parents. So, and part of communism is atheism, and they were all in on this. So she was raised as atheist also. So I suspect maybe like non-interest in Christianity. Maybe this is the glue that brought my parents together. I never verified this. They never mentioned it to me, but I'm kind of doing the math here. That's what I suspect. I think it's pretty common these days that people are raised without religion, but back in old days, it was pretty unusual. It was pretty unusual, and I remember me and my brother, like, if we talked about this with other kids, like we would make them cry. We would literally we would cause them to be distressed. I just remember like we would talk to them and like, we'd get up like the conversation, well, what happens when you die? And the answer is, well, when you die, you just die, and then it is oblivion. And some of them weren't ready for this, I would say, but, so it goes, I think if you don't have, conventional, like, sexuality or, conventional gender issues, that atheism makes it go a lot more smoothly. I see a lot of people in the community struggle with a lot of self-judgment about sexuality or about gender issues in connection with religion, I wonder sometimes if like the religious guilt, it like backfires on them somehow, and they become some people becomes like they sort of break away from this religious upbringing, then they sort of backfire and end up like super hypersexualized in reaction to this. It's like, they say, what is it? The forbidden fruit is always the sweetest. And for them, all this is the forbidden fruit. But for me, that's not me. For me, the thing is like, I don't have that. So I never had the religious or moral hang-ups about sexuality. But also, I'm sort of generally I'm like less tightly wound, I would say, sexually than other people. I've been free to do what I want in terms of like my internal dialogue. Though, I think I had other issues that maybe slow me down a little bit, just as far as, what I look like, or just other interests that sort of, and other problems that kind of made me like, less of the social butterfly than I otherwise might have been. But, and part of the thing about being atheist is, how do you manage Christmas, And as kids, we did get presents, and we did do the trees and the Santa Claus and all that. And my totally atheist grandmother did send us presents from Santa, basically. I don't remember getting anything good from her, but I remember getting like stuff at least. So so I'm not averse to. I do remember like getting stuff, so liking that. But I don't think I have quite the emotional attachment to Christmas that other people in my life have. That, sometimes we'll have small decorations around the house, but I would say generally I do not have the energy to like, to put up lights or do anything that requires climbing up ladders. I don't want to lug trees around in my house. That's like, I just don't have the energy about that. I don't care enough. It's kind of my thing. So it's like this thing that happens on TV to some extent for me. I know in Japan, Christmas is a big deal in Finland, but if in Japan, the thing about Christmas is Colonel Sanders. Kentucky Fried Chicken has made a Christmas their holiday in Japan. So I was thinking, maybe I should get some Colonel Sanders for Christmas, but no, I don't eat that many calories. It's like I don't need to do that. Has zero emotional attachment for me. But like I don't know. This Colonel Sanders is okay, but it's not quite. I don't know. It would just be more of an odd performance, I would think. I don't have to do that. I think maybe I'm a little bit ambivalent about holidays in general. Maybe I should be more interested in May Day for my communist ancestors, or maybe for New Year's. Maybe I should do New Year's more Japanese style. But though I don't know. So far that hasn't happened. I wasn't really raised with that either. So I think. And I don't know. You can't really do Japanese New Year's in the USA. I don't know. I don't care that much. I care about heritage in some extent. Like I'm interested in language, but I feel like that's enough. I don't need to do anything else. I think when you do the language, it's like that's the big one, and like the holidays and the food, whatever. I could pick and choose. I do appreciate not having to work on Christmas. So I mean, I'm happy to spend today not working. So I'm not going to turn that down. So I'm just like I'm gonna just hang around the house, fuss with the computers, do a little laundry, eat a little food, fuss with the computers and radio, watch a little YouTube, and then go to sleep. It'll be just another day for me, but that's okay. A regular day without work is a good thing. So just not stressing. And I'm making this video. Talk about Atheist Christmas. Anybody else who's atheist and not celebrating Christmas can comment here if they like. And thank you for watching. Stop here.